What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 5 of Hearts and Arts. Today, I have another very special guest with me. I've been meaning to have her on my show for a while, and now I am extremely excited to have her. Yasmine Iliana. Did I get that right?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. All right, Yasmine, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Gerard said perfectly, my name is Yasmine Iliana, and I am a rising third year at UCR in the TFDP major. I write and I also love stage management. That's the ultimate end goal. And every once in a while, I act a teensy bit.
Nice. As Yasmin just said, right now, she has experience on both sides of the theater, both as an actor on the stage and as a production crew member behind the scenes. And because of that, I just had to have her on the show because for those of you who are watching, if you have experience on both sides of the theater stage, I'm pretty sure you can relate to Yasmin's experiences and the tea she has to share. And also, fun fact, Yasmin is another GMP member who I met during the best 2 years of my life at UCR. Truly enjoyed it very much. And it's so great to see Yasmin again, even though it's virtual. Yeah. And yeah, so I got into this as the first subject of my show, and that is every artist starts with a spark. So, Yasmin, would you share with us how'd you find your spark in the world of theater and creative writing?
Yeah, of course. So I've definitely always been a little bit of a performer and technician, like since I was a kid, but I had really, really bad social anxiety growing up. So it's not something that I ever like pursued. It's just something I kind of did at home. Like leading up to Mother's Day, I remember this one year that I forced my younger brother and cousin, who are the same age, they're both 2.5 years younger than me, and I basically was like, okay, we're gonna set up like a fake like massage parlor in the backyard for both of our moms, like my mom and our tia. And we're going to like set this whole thing up. And I had like a little iPod at the time. And I told them, okay, these are your lines. This is what you're going to say. We're going to make an ad to advertise our Mother's Day present to our moms. Another time with my cousins on my dad's side of the family, I was trying to organize a talent show. I didn't want to be in the talent show. I just wanted to organize it because I liked the idea of planning an event for other people to be in. So I was forcing all of my cousins to sign up with me. I told them you have until 7 like p.m. today to tell me what your talent show act is going to be and I'll give you your slot. So I was doing those things as a kid because I was like too nervous to like do anything outside of my family. But then in middle school, it was the eighth grade. I was in like an advanced English class, and my teacher at the time, Mrs. Pena at Salida Middle School, we did a like Shakespeare unit in our English class where we did one act versions of Shakespeare plays. And that was my first time performing for anybody who was not like a family member in years. And I was really, really nervous about it. But it was just really, really fun because we were essentially just told, like, here are your one acts, analyze them, learn your lines, put together your own costumes, your own props. Like, you're going to do them in, like, on the stage in the gym during class time. And it was such a blast that me and a handful of other people all ended up doing another one for extra credit. So I played Polonius in Hamlet. And then after that, I played Oberon in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And after doing both of those things, I was like, well, I think I want to do theater in high school. And that year, I had also really enjoyed all of our writing projects in Mrs. Pena's English class. So I had already had it in my mind. At the time, I wanted to be a creative writing major when I got to college, and then started getting into theater thanks to her class. So shout out to Mrs. Pena. I haven't spoken to her since I finished that middle school, but she got me my theater start.
And it's the best way to give your former teacher a shout out on a podcast on the internet for appreciation.
hmm
You know, I was actually going over this with our friend Maya, who I had on the second episode, and
hmm
that was in some way, shape, or form, every theater kid's journey starts off with Shakespeare, or at least most of the time. I wish I can say that that was for me, but no, I started with Charles Dickens.
Mhm.
You said you have experience with Midsummer Night's Dream. That's my favorite Shakespeare play.
Oh my gosh, T. What about it makes you like say, you know what, of all of the fantastic Shakespeare works, this one is my favorite.
Mm, Uh, I'm just gonna say this. It's mostly because that memory of me performing in Midsummer,
Mhm.
um, I associate it with my senior year of high school,
Oh.
where okay, it was just a really great vibe. Like I fell in love with theater even more, and this was the show that got me the most invested in theater because again, I've had theatrical experience before that, but it wasn't until my senior year of high school when I really started to take it more serious, like more invested in it. And in my high school's production of Midsummer, everybody in the cast was like a whole family to me. They welcomed me, and I just felt at home there. And I
Oh.
stayed in theater for the rest of the year. And also, everyone in the cast fit their roles so well. Like on and off the stage, we were our characters, and this is coming from a minor role, Snug the Joiner, and he was such a fun role, even though he doesn't get out much. But I loved it, and I would love to play that character again. And everyone in the cast, my friends who became my theater family or first generation theater family, their characters fit their personalities so well. But yeah, and um, you also have an experience in another Shakespeare play, which was Hamlet,
Yes.
uh, a gender
Such
bent
my
role. Oh, you like
favorite.
Hamlet?
Yeah.
You, I like Hamlet too. It's like probably in my top five. The only problem I have with it is it's a little hard to understand. Did
Mhm.
you have an easier time understanding it?
Yeah, I was like a major nerd. Like, I'm not even gonna say just in elementary school or middle school, I still kind of am. So I read a lot of like classics and like older literature when I was like in middle school. Like I was in the seventh grade and I was like Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. That's my favorite book right there. And it still is to this day. So I always really liked reading stuff like Canterbury Tales and like Shakespearean sonnets. And it was funny because or I used to hate poetry. It's grown on me throughout the years, but I used to hate like poetry. But I said, Shakespeare sonnets, those are okay. Those are fine. And yeah, so Hamlet was really, it came fairly easy. And I remember starting high school in my freshman year English class, we read Romeo and Juliet, as many freshmen do in high school. And that was a fun adventure because it's, again, something I had previous like experience with in terms of I had already read it before having to study it for class. So I was reading the lines much quicker than anyone else did. I remember one day my English teacher came up to me after class and was like, tomorrow, if you want to volunteer to read again, that's awesome, but read a little bit slower because not everybody has the same experience with Shakespeare as you do. And I was like, gotcha. All right, sounds good. Um, so it's a text that I have spent a lot of time with. So I felt really comfortable reading it, even just like the first time, the second time, and it grows on you like more and more.
Nice. And your teacher noticed that out of everyone in her class, you had the most um okay, I lost the word. Interest in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is something right there. Like when someone notices that okay, I'm just going to come straight. Shakespeare is boring, but I like Shakespeare. I like Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. I really
You
do.
would be, but I'm glad you can still appreciate him.
Yes, that's the thing. By the way, these are not my words. These are a lot of the other people's words who I've interacted with. Like even high school theater kids, they say Shakespeare's hard, Shakespeare's boring, and okay, Shakespeare is hard. If you read the lines in his plays, some of them are a little hard to keep up with, but
Hmm.
that's what I like about Shakespeare and the fact that I like Shakespeare nonetheless. No, I love Shakespeare nonetheless. It it shows just how committed I am and how much we are committed to his works.
Hmm.
Because yeah, again, they're not the easiest, but the fact that we're committed to them shows that we're able to, or at least interested in studying them and dissecting their elements.
Yeah, I remember my best friend actually, Ashley Santillion, of like over 10 years. We've known each other since we were 8 years old. And that's saying something that we're still friends because we both have moved around. Like she moved away from the city we were in at the time when we were 10, and I've moved like 3 or 4 times since then, and we've kept in touch all of these years. She bought me, I believe, 2 years ago for Christmas, the complete works of William Shakespeare and also a fun pair of like shark socks. And that was my Christmas present from her. And so it sits on it's right over here, this bookshelf. It's next to the little chest, and it's about this thick.
Ooh, I think I know which kind of book series you're talking about because I have something like it too, only it's the collection of Grimm's fairy tales.
Ooh, I don't own those. I have Edgar Allan Poe, and then I have like a short collection of some Grimm fairy tales, but I don't have them in full.
Yeah. The you have like these okay, I don't know how to introduce this, but I'll just ask it as much original as I can. Would you consider yourself as a literature nerd like I am? I'm a literature nerd. No,
I
me.
suppose. I guess I've read a fair amount of classics and enough that I know what I like in literature, and I'll call myself, yeah, sure. Literature nerd for sure.
Just for fun, we're literature nerds. And for those of you who are watching this right now, I didn't always study theater in college. I used to be an American history major. Like that was the original major I wanted to go with, but ultimately I ended up switching to theater arts because uh okay, there's too much to share about that for just one episode, but what I will say is there are some things in this world that you are very passionate about, and if you can see yourself being happy with doing what it is with your life, with a career that not only supports you financially, but also supports you morally, then you got yourself a good life right there. And for me, I've decided to pursue theater because I love it too much to just move away from it. It's my one true passion that I've always had. And for many good reasons too. One of them being every time I get involved in theater, I always form a family bond with whoever I work with, not just my high school theater family, but my college theater family as well. That includes Yasmine here. She's family to me. She's my college theater family. And earlier, I said my high school theater group was my first generation family. Well, my college theater family is my second generation. It was a little hard to recreate those times in high school, but my college theater family helped me do just that. GMP, our friend Myra created that club, and I felt so at home. And I'm not trying to get teary eyed on this episode right now, especially since I have such a really cool guest with me as Yasmin. Um, yeah, it's so many great memories and so many uh, great things happened to me doing theater. Unlike studying American history, uh, theater helped me prosper physically, mentally, and morally as well.
Mhm.
And Yasmin, that did wonders for you too as a theater kid.
Yeah. It was great. I also originally was not even going to go to UCR. I had initially committed to CSU East Bay, previously CSU Hayward, for a criminal justice major. And my full plan was to be a little criminal justice major and get my undergrad degree. And then more likely than not, attend law school because I had like a mock trial coach in high school who was like really pushing me towards that. And I was like, well, I guess that could work. Yeah. And I was genuinely excited. But then the second I got my acceptance to UCR and I was told I was committed in for TFDP, I completely had to scrap everything. And I was like, yeah, so and then I had to tell all of my family, hey, I'm no longer going to school in the Bay Area. I'm actually gonna go to school 6 hours away and I'm gonna study theater now. So that's the life update. And it was like a month after they all thought I was gonna go to East Bay, and they were all really excited that I was gonna move closer. And I was like, bye. It was well received though. It was well received.
That's good, even though it's a plot twist. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Did you like declare criminal justice right away when you got to college, or was it before
Um,
college?
so like I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do post high school, because quarantine happened right at the end of my senior year. I was a 2020 high school graduate, which is to say I
Mm,
never got a graduation ceremony. Um, and I had applied to like schools in and out of state for different majors. Some places only offered poli sci, some places offered theater, some places offered criminal justice. And so I applied to a bunch of different schools with those were like my three majors I applied to schools with. And I was like, whoever accepts me, because for some reason I was convinced that I would just like only get accepted like maybe one school. I was like, whoever accepts me, that's the major I'm going with. But then I got accepted to schools for theater and for poli sci and for criminal justice. And it was like, oh, we have scholarships here. Oh, there's different scholarships at this school. And then I had to make a decision again. And I was like so overwhelmed. But ultimately I just the fact that I was excited when I got my UCR like acceptance. I remember our friend Myra, I also went to high school with. The second I got that email, I took a screenshot and I started crying and I sent it to her. I sent it to my high school theater director, and Myra FaceTimed me sobbing and was so excited and immediately bought like an Amtrak ticket for me to come down to Riverside so she could give me a tour of the school, show me like the area. And then I would go back home after a couple of days. And then my theater director also called me crying. It was like, yes, I'm so happy to study theater. And with Myra, you guys are gonna be like doing your thing and it's gonna be amazing. And I was like, this is the right move.
For the record, I am so glad you decided to come to UCR and do theater because
Me too.
otherwise I wouldn't have met you, and that would have been sad because you're one of the sunshines in my life.
Aw, that's so sweet.
I
You are
tried to
a
make that not
shining star
sound
in a
like
lot of people's lives, Gerard.
wait, what was it?
I said you are a shining star in a lot of people's lives.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to hear. Uh okay, again, I'm not trying to sob here on my podcast.
Oh my goodness.
This
Two
is
very
gonna
emotional people trying to like talk and like not get teary-eyed.
look at us, two theater kids on a podcast just talking about how theater is like um giving us the first steps of our good lives here. I am so glad I did not continue American history. No shade on anyone. No shade on any history majors out there or any historians out there or archaeologists or anyone in the industry. No shade. No offense. None at all. That's not what I'm about. I'm about good vibes and no no judgment either. But yeah, um, oh my goodness, that just opened a lot of room for emotions right now. But yeah, Yasmin, you that was your spark and your theater experiences in the fresh starts and the first steps. And how were your how was your experience in behind the scenes?
Joyous. Oh God, I love theater tech. Every single time I go to like any show, whether it's a musical or a play or even a concert, I always see technicians in the background, or I'll see like a spotlight op like working and moving things around before a show or like in between sets. And I get so excited and I'm just like my friends my friends who are also technicians, will go to shows together and then we'll be like, represent tech. And then we just like see them and we're like, solidarity. Um, but I love doing theater tech. My freshman year of high school, I was just like running crew for my very first show, which was Twelfth Night, and it was fantastic. I love Twelfth Night. It's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. It's probably my favorite comedy. And then I was like recruited by my director and my stage manager from that first show to train as an assistant stage manager for our spring show. And I immediately said yes. I didn't know really what an ASM was, but I was excited by the prospect of having the opportunity to stage manage, just because the stage manager that I worked with in high school was just like such a boss and she was like so cool and like she knew how to call a show. And I wanted to be like her. and I was very, very excited. And then it was great because I trained for this to be like a stage manager. I was an assistant stage manager. I did all of this work. And then the following year, I didn't do tech. I auditioned and started acting. But I loved my very first year of doing theater tech in high school. It was fantastic. I had such a blast. I had never done it before, but I knew that I loved doing work behind the scenes. I loved painting like flats. I loved being able to help like carry things. I didn't care if I was doing like grunt work or anything. I was like, yeah, I'll get my clothes covered in paint on a casual like afternoon after school. Absolutely. And it was just such a blast. And then I took a little bit of a break from tech to do some acting stuff. And then when I started stage managing again, I stage managed Almost Maine my senior year of high school, as well as Seussical the musical, which was a blast. And yeah, I had a wonderful time. Stage management is like truly what I fell in love with, especially stage managing a musical. If I could just do that for the rest of my life, I genuinely think I would because it is so much fun. I don't have my binder with me. I used to, but oh goodness gracious, I love my stage manager. Like we call it, some people call it a Bible. I normally do just call it my binder for the most part, but when I'm in show season, I'm like, where's my SM Bible? I need it now. Um, and I have like my color coding systems, I have my highlighter system, I have like where I add notes, I have like my blocking. It's wonderful. I love it so much. I'm very much like a little bit of a control freak and get a little bit frustrated when things in my life aren't organized. So I think that is truly like the perfect thing for me.
Oh, it's the struggles of a stage manager. Well, I've never stage managed before, but I've had friends in high school who have, in their words, gone through that nightmare before. Uh, in fact, I remember doing a music. My last spring musical in high school was Rock of Ages. I'm not much of a musical type
Hmm.
performer, but I love musicals. I love Broadway. Um, I'm a Broadway nerd, so yeah.
Love that.
And our stage manager for that show, she uh like wanted everything to go perfect. I would like to say I had fun doing it, my castmates had fun doing it, but what do I know? I wasn't the stage manager. I was an ensemble slash minor role. And since you've experienced being the stage manager and tech crew for shows, that's another reason why I just had to have you on this show because I believe even uh, the behind the scenes people, they deserve their love too in the arts.
Absolutely.
And this is coming from someone who has done two positions in the production staff over at UCR. Theater
No,
kids out there, please respect your production crew members. They're one
please.
of the reasons why you're on stage having fun. They're the ones helping the story move along so you can be in the story.
It's very important to respect theater tech because I've had like situations where some theater tech don't feel respected and then they are not going to hold your silly little costume for you if you ask last minute because you had a last minute costume change because you have a very demanding director and they said okay well I think I want you in this jacket instead of this jacket so you're gonna have to do that change off stage like in the wings. And normally I'm like the first person to volunteer to help somebody with a quick costume change if we can't have like somebody from the costume team assist with it. However, I've had like technicians who normally are so happy to help anywhere it is needed, but then there's an actor who is disrespectful or never checks in, and all you have to do is come over, check in with your stage manager or someone on your stage management team so we can get attendance. And it's so simple. Or they take water or not water, but they take like lemonade backstage or iced tea backstage in like an uncapped like drink vessel or whatever, and that makes them lose any respect that they might have for you, and then they don't want to do something that technically speaking you could do yourself that is easier with another person. And normally under normal circumstances if you were just respectful they would be so happy to help, but then I've seen people just be like well, I don't particularly like working with that actor, so I think I'll stick to my own thing during that part of the stage and hopefully they figure it out. And hopefully our director doesn't yell at them for not getting it done in 3 seconds.
I would say I've had the same 80% of that experience because from an actor's point of view in high school, I was like, oh geez, not, this guy's doing it again. They're up to it again. They're at it again. I'm staying out of this. Just I'll let them handle their business. I'm not going to be part of that negativity because
Yeah.
I hate negativity. I hate that
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah. And I don't, and I love people who say that like you shouldn't have an ego in theater because I think that's so funny because I think everybody sort of has to have some form of an ego, but you just have to not be disrespectful about it. You need to be able to carry yourself well enough to do your job and do it well. Um, Act well your part, there all honor lies, and that doesn't just go for actors. But I don't think that people need to be disrespectful. Yeah.
Exactly. I say the same thing. Like, I don't think anyone should bring all this arrogant personality onto the stage
Mhm.
because the theater is a safe place. It's my safe space. And
Yes.
I want all forms of negativity out the door because the theater is no place, absolutely no place for negativity whatsoever.
Mhm.
But at the same time, there are these actors who have a lot of confidence in themselves, which is not a bad thing because, confidence is one of the key factors of making it big in entertainment. I've had two stars in my high school theater program. Well, two main stars that I can just name off the top of my head. They're always ready, they're extremely confident, and sometimes it's a little like it's not a bad thing, but what I will say is, well, that's a lot of confidence for one person. I hope they know how to control it. I'm just gonna say that. Just control it. That's your main goal. Control it. And they did
Mhm.
a good job at it. If you're watching this, you know who you are. Good job though. Good job controlling it. That's one of the reasons why I loved my time doing high school theater.
High school theater is such a blast. It's one of the best things I ever did, ever, truly.
Yep. I feel like high school theater is like the critical point of whether you want to pursue this or not. In my case, ultimately, uh, well, 10%, because remember, I wanted to be an American history major at first, but then I thought I'm not going to find any happiness in this. It's not enjoyable, not for me at least. Again, no shade for any historians out there, but it's just not me. Like everyone has their own happiness and their own passions. For me, I want to do something in the arts field because the arts is me, theater is me, acting is me. And Yasmin, I'm pretty sure you've had that kind of experience, not just as an actor, but also as a writer as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of the things that Yasmin and I share interest in is Renaissance themed art. And one of the reasons why is because of, well, the Renaissance Fair. Personally, I've never been to a Renaissance Fair before, but I would love to. And I could have easily gone in past years. I've had opportunities, but I love it too much. I want to go dressed in costume, and I don't have a costume right now. But again, I want to commit because I love it too much. So yeah, Yasmin, would you like to share with us your interest in Renaissance art and all the good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I also have never been to a Renaissance fair, but I want to go to one so bad. I think 2023 is the year that we make it happen, Gerard.
Let's make it a plan. We got
Yes,
it.
because I know we have so many people, especially within the GMP crowd, that would also be
Yes.
super down to try and make a trip out of it. But I would love to do it for the same reasons of like putting together a costume, but I also love going to any event where people are in character and doing their jobs just fantastically and super well. I want to see a duel. I personally do not drink. If somebody is above the age of 21, then like that's chill. I personally don't, but I would love to just go and then have non-alcoholic beverages from like a cool like bar area where everyone's like throwing around goblets and having a grand old time and eating fantastic food. And I've seen people like make adorable, adorable drinks that look like or they put them in potion bottles, but then it's like fruit juice and it just looks nice. And I'm just like, oh, like the props and the costumes and the revelry of it all is so fantastic. And I want to go to one so, so bad.
Me too. And earlier on, you actually mentioned the Canterbury Tales, which
Mhm.
you've read before. I've read that before. In fact, I remembered. one of my school projects when I was taking English literature, I had to pick a character from the book and analyze what they were like. I chose the squire because I thought he was the most artsy out of the bunch, and turned out he was pretty artsy, but not as artsy as I was expecting him to be. But he was artsy enough, and I thought, what if I can turn this character into a theatrical trope and make a costume based on the squire?
I
Honestly,
think if I could do any, I would want to do like a knight or do some sort of witch costume if I was going to go to a Ren Fair. But I love seeing people create just completely original fairy characters. Those are so fun. I love custom fairy wings.
and I'm sure for the record, Yasmin, you would have made a great fairy. I can't wait to see you bring that character to life, though. GMP family, if you're watching this, Renaissance Fair 2023, it's a
Make
plan.
it happen.
We're going to make it happen. We're determined. Yeah.
All right.
Renaissance Fair. Mark your
Going.
calendars, guys. We're going there. We just
Yay!
need to pick a site, and that then we're good to go.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna be so cool.
I'm excited for it already.
Me as well.
Yasmin, as we were just picking up after a bit of a lost signal there, um, uh, you have experience in Commedia dell'arte, if
Yes,
I'm
I
saying that right,
do. Yeah.
just like me. Would you like to run through with that?
Yeah, for sure. I was Don Pocolino in Bamboozled, written by, I think, somebody with the last name Miller, though I could be wrong. Maybe Michael Trill, something along those lines. Fantastic show. I adored every second of it. It was a really great show for me and a handful of friends to bond. We loved just, I love anything with like an ensemble cast. It's so much fun. It is such a blast to spend that much time with fellow actors. And yeah, it's so I've played many male roles in my life. I think I've probably played more male roles than female roles. I think the ranking officially goes probably like technician, male roles, female roles. Yeah. Um, but playing the Don was really, really fun because he was like a hated character. He was this terrible old man selling off his daughter to be married. Shout out to my friend Aiden, who played my daughter, Columbina. And anytime any characters said my name in the show, they were supposed to spit to the side of their mouth. And so it was like a whole like moment, spit, there's a sound effect and everything. I was so hated and I loved it. And I've had the most fantastic costume too. It was like all green velvet and like yellow feathers, and it was fantastic. Same character archetype as like Pantalone, so I had to do the whole like rooster like stance whenever I was walking around. There's a video that exists of me actually doing this scream where I'm calling for my indentured servant. They're basically a slave. They are treated so, so poorly in this show. Shout out to my friend Oliver, who did a fantastic job being my indentured servant and just taking beating after beating day after day. Fake beating, of course. We do not we do not support beating children in theater. Um, but there's this fantastic clip where I'm calling for their character and I'm just screaming out the name. And I try to do it louder each time. And there's this one where you can just hear like my voice like crack and like as I'm screaming. It sounds like my vocal cords have just ripped in half, but it is the best I have ever said that line. Ever. And I have the videos somewhere in my phone. Maybe I can send it to you and you can feature it on like the Instagram post or something. It's just me like 15 or something screaming at the top of my lungs on stage. But I love that show. It was a great workout. We all had fantastic legs by the end of it. Loved every second.
That, that sounds so entertaining. And I gotta ask, was this all improvised too? Because the thing about Commedia is that a lot of it is heavily improvised. So yeah.
Some of it, yeah. There's like we learned our lines and we had like our general movements, but there was there were a lot of things that happened in the behind the scenes of that show. Sharagraj, who I haven't really kept in contact with, but who is a fantastic actor, played Dottore, and he like had to get his appendix removed. So he had like scenes where he was supposed to like fall on the ground, and we were really concerned that he wouldn't be able to do that because he had just had his appendix removed, like very close to show. And he said, no, this is what I'm here for. And so without telling our director or anybody, he still threw himself to the ground and we are all like, oh my God, he's gonna rip open his sutures and this is going to be a mess, but everything was fine. And so there were some things that like were supposed to be altered that we had been doing for a while, and then like we just would swap them around, change things up. I got to duel somebody with a bat. um, my friend Lily Hansen got to do a fair amount of cross-dressing herself in this show. Um, my my friend Brion Allen played Brigella and did some fantastic improvisation with this, like jumping up and down and screaming like this grotesque, like Smoker's Lung-esque voice, like kiss the crown, and like it was amazing. I love that show so much. It's one of the best things I've ever done, and I got to act with a lot of my still very close friends in that show, and it was fantastic.
Awesome. Um, very entertaining indeed. Commedia is so entertaining. And I got excited too when you, oh, geez, I just noticed that I'm lagging on my screen right now. For those of you watching this on YouTube, I hope you can still hear me. My screen is just frozen, so don't mind that. Don't mind these facial expressions that are frozen too. So, yeah. Anyways, I got excited when you mentioned Pantalone because that's my character right there from my community college time doing Commedia. Um, Pantalone was quite the character. So
Indeed.
very fun indeed. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about him. His character is so roller coaster like. At first it goes uphill, goes downhill, and then it just goes on a loop. And you just can't keep track of Pantalone's actions or emotions. None of that was easy to keep track of, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fun because Pantalone is a fun character. He
For
was so
sure.
good.
And
And
I love the masks like that we had to
oh my
wear
goodness.
because all of our masks, like we didn't have any in storage really, so they all had to be like custom made for our faces by people in our tech team at the time. And I believe that was Sam and Eli. I could be wrong, but that is who I remembered having to come over to me and be like, let me put this clay on your face. And so my mask was gorgeous. It was painted gold. It fit my face exactly. It was fantastic. And I just remember this particular moment. My friend Dustin Hyatt had been playing Pantalone, and we have this screaming match, and we just hate each other so much. And it's a very warm show, or it was for most of us who had to wear a lot of layers in our costumes and or just heavy materials to make us look rich. And I remember with the Pantalone mask with the longer nose, I remember
Yeah.
seeing Dustin's sweat drip off of the nose of the mask onto the ground while we were screaming at each other, and it was such a blast. And it really forces you to have to like act with your full body, which is a big part. The physical comedy of Commedia is just out of this world. And it was a really fun challenge for a lot of people because I do think a lot of us rely sometimes on like our facial acting, even though more often than not, like some audience members just cannot see your face. And it was a really fun thing to have to like do exercises day after day in rehearsal, being like, all right, everyone, we're gonna be like in these like squatting positions, we're gonna walk around all funny, and you're gonna be loud with your bodies and your voices.
Slapped stick.
Oh,
Sweet, sweet slapstick. I got to thank my comedy sports background for helping me get into character with Pantalone too. But anyways, shifting gears to Yasmine's beautiful play, Life Unto Art, written and directed by herself, and it debuted on the GMP stage at
yes.
UCR, and I've had the pleasure of watching it come to life. It was so beautiful too. Yasmine, it's your play. Would you share with us your thoughts, your feelings of your inspirations behind the play. And also feel free to shout your stars out too, especially Alvin and Hayden, who
Yes.
we had and met in our previous episodes.
Yeah, of course. Life unto Art was really fun for me to put together. I originally did not anticipate that I would direct it. Just finding directors was an interesting time, and ultimately I was like, I can take it. I can take it up. Sure, why not? But Life unto Art is a sapphic retelling of the ancient Greek myth of Pygmalion and Galatea, which is just something that when I first found it, I had mixed feelings because there's different interpretations of different like versions of the original myth. And with the one that I read and how I interpreted it, I just hated Pygmalion. I know that you have a different story with Pygmalion and Galatea. But I just wanted to write it and write a story that also represents like a love story that I never saw growing up, which was a sapphic like love story. And it was heavily inspired by Stop Kiss by Diana Sun. I read that for Luis Carraso's acting class, I believe, my first year. And I loved that play so much. I loved it so much. And I also, in my stage management class, that was the play that we were doing our entire stage management, like binder and all of our assignments on. And it was inspired in part by that and also just in general by like Greek deities and myths. And I was very, very fortunate to have such a stellar cast come together and audition for the show. And I was so, so, so happy with everything that they brought to the stage, like day after day. I had a largely LGBTQ plus cast, which is not something that we anticipated. Ultimately, it is hard to find a representation that is like accurately represented when they are acting on stage. And Isabel Engelstad, my fantastic lead actress, Alvin and Hayden, who played like sort of mirrored versions of Aphrodite and Dionysus in the mortal world. Ethan Dizon, they played Dionysus. Athena Elamakis, who is Greek and was able to teach us some Greek words that we could use in the show, played Aphrodite. And I had a fantastic tech team, Tempest, Katie with my stage management team. Oh my goodness, Veronica did lights, Manny did sound. I had just like such a fantastic group of people on stage and off stage who helped bring it together. And I was so, so, so happy with it when we closed show. It was a long process, which all theater is, but I genuinely, it was one of the best things I've ever been able to be a part of. And I was very, very proud of everybody who was a part of it.
I loved it that much. It was so good. Everyone did so well. All the cast, all the crew, bringing that story to life. You all did amazing. And Yasmine, that was a very beautiful story too. Like, I loved how you brought everything under your direction, and it was so amazing. I just wanted to stand on my chair and just give it the standing ovation that it deserved. But of
Mm.
course, I would have had to create a scene and take the attention away from you guys, which I did not want to do because, again, the spotlight belongs to you guys. That was amazing.
It was a very, very fun process. And I definitely couldn't have done it without everybody who was involved. Oh goodness, I'm so bad with like emotions and stuff. And so Jayla Jacob, who was my assistant director, lovely, lovely person, helped so much with that as well. Oh goodness, it was just such a fun time. And I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. I had a lot of friends come see the show, and I was very nervous about it because it was a lot of friends who hadn't read it. Sometimes I send my friends a script that I wrote and then they're like, "Oh, I'll get to it." And then they don't get to it, but then they come see it and I appreciate that still. But I was just so nervous about like audience reactions. And we did like a very small talk back after one of the shows, and that was also a grand old joy to be able to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that show. It's
that
like
was
my
fun
child.
too. Yeah, it was definitely fun being there to witness it too. Not to mention, you had Jayla as your assistant director. Jayla's artistry comes in quite the package. Like, her artistry is just amazing. So you had a really good amount of help right there too. Jayla is
Jayla is one of
extremely
the most
talented
fantastic
too.
people
So
I've ever met in my life. I
is
remember
this an
my first.
allusion to a future episode?
Is
I don't
it?
know. Let's
Ooh.
see. Illusion and foreshadowing. Alrighty, with that, we got our subjects in and we have all the praises. And now, Yasmin, is there something you would like to share to our audiences, especially the children who are watching this right now, who are aspiring actors, theater crew members, writers? Any advice you would like to share to them?
Yeah, for sure. I don't personally think I am often in a place to give advice. I can only speak from my own experiences. But for anybody who is nervous or also struggles with social anxiety or just like anxiety or the mental health in general, if you think that that is something that is holding you back from getting into theater and or film or any creative field or even non-creative field, um, just truly, it's like that one scene in Into the Spider-Verse, like you have to take that leap because I also probably wouldn't actually be as involved with theater as I am now if it hadn't been for a couple of seniors who I knew in high school who tricked me into thinking I had to audition for a show. That is the only reason I ever got into acting is two of my friends who were seniors told me, "Oh, Yasmin, we know you want to do tech. Just tell Mrs. Bryan, our director, that you want to do tech, but you have to go to auditions just so that she knows in case of like an emergency if she can like put you in and if you are okay with like being that emergency person, like blah blah blah. Like it won't happen. Emergencies don't happen. You'll be fine. And then I went to auditions, auditioned, and was put in the show. And I was like, oh, I didn't want that. I was told that we have to audition. And she was like, well, you're in the show, so there's no backing out, and you didn't have to audition. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, good to know. So taking that leap, whether it's with a little shove or whether it's just you taking that leap by yourself, just go for it.
Beautiful, beautiful, and very inspirational to take the leap, because that's what you need to do to get kickstart this yellow brick road that you need to travel on. So yeah. All right. So with that, I would like to say thank you, first of all, Yasmine, for having a spot on the show, and I can't wait for more episodes with you and Ty and Maya and Hayden and Alvin, everyone else who I've had so far, along with upcoming professionals as well.
Yay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up one last time for Yasmine Iliana, actress, writer, and stage crew member.
Thank you so much, Gerard, for having me on. And I'd like to extend a round of applause out to the wonderful host of this podcast, Gerard Arrienda.
Final bows to
Round of
you.
applause. All right. Thank
All
you so
right,
much for
right.
having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. All right.
Anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, hope you enjoyed this episode, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Enjoy your day, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye.